We are at Next here in Berlin. And who are you?
I'm Anders Olsson from a company called Tobii Technology. We build eye tracking devices that can measure where on the screen your eyes are looking.
So are you based in Sweden?
Yep. Our headquarters are in Sweden. We got 10 offices in total all over the world. We're about 350 people, but the headquarters are in Sweden.
So this is a brand here, Tobii.
Yep.
And you've been around for a bunch of years, no?
Yeah, we've been around for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And building eye tracking devices for all those years.
So why did you start with eye tracking? Did it come out of the university? Was it a project, or how did it start?
Well, I was not one of the three founders, but their vision from day one was to one day bring this into mainstream computing. The whole idea that the way you interact with the computer should be able to move beyond just the keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
The way they went about it, however, was to find more niche markets where eye tracking makes sense. So a very early user group that made very, very perfect sense are people that are physically impaired, that cannot talk nor use their hands. And for them, it's the only way of communicating.
But your technology is actually being used by the whole advertising industry?
Yes.
All the people that optimize websites?
That's right.
Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, everybody's using it, no?
That's...
all your customers right now?
Yeah, without specifying names, yep. Any large company that has a larger website is bound to be using eye tracking, because you get so much information about what people are looking at and if they understand the website or if they don't.
So you do, for example, you have men watch websites, and if there's pictures of a woman, normally they look there sometimes. That's kind of like one of the funny things that comes out of the... I mean, it's very important to see where people look on the page, no?
Yeah, it's important for a couple of reasons. I mean, the most important one is just for usability aspects. If you redesign your web page or your software, and people are just wandering around with their eyes for 10-20 seconds, they're obviously confused. And then you can ask them, what is it you don't understand, and then make the website or software better.
So does it work?
It works very well. So
100% super precise.
It's a typical eye tracker, like this eye tracker here, will have about this level of precision. So about less than a centimeter. It will know where you're looking at the screen, knows it all the time, and it reports that data in real time.
So it looks at your eye, what's it called, the black part in the middle?
It's a bit more complicated. There's infrared sensors in there that send reflections into the eyes. That's invisible light, you don't see it. Then there are other sensors that pick up those reflections, create a 3D model, and the result is knowledge of where you're looking.
So what is the next step? Because there has been some public news about investments recently. Could it mean that it's going to be more consumer-oriented, bigger and more, and what's going to happen?
Yeah, the technology is definitely entering a new phase. So I mean, it's been used for people, as I said, that have that are physically impaired. It's moving now rapidly into prosumer markets.
Prosumer?
People that have extra needs of communicating with their device and really have strong needs. For example, CAD programmers, anybody doing video imaging, that type of thing. The way you can interact is just so much more efficient if you have access to knowledge of where you're looking. And then from there, quite rapidly, high-end users going into high-end ultrabooks, gaming experience just gets much more exciting with eye tracking.
Why high-end? Is it expensive?
If you compare it to a typical webcam, it's expensive, but it's at a point now where it can soon be at a price point affordable to...
Like expensive, like $20 more or what?
No, it's...
Like the bill of materials. What do you have in here?
In here, I mean, the bill of materials, for this one, it's an older device, so the bill of materials is quite high. This type of device is our latest generation technology, and the device will end up costing about $7,000. But when we target CAD programmers, then the price point is similar to the 3D mouse, etc., etc.
Okay.
So as a gaming device, it will be like a high-end gaming.
So can we do a short demo?
So.
Tobii Showcase. Windows app.
So the one thing you need to do, you only need to do this once in your life, is calibrate. And that's for the device to know exactly how my eyes look.
How many times do you have to do that?
Just once.
Once,
So if
like
I-
forever?
Yeah, if I come back a year from now, still, as long as it can recognize my face, it can load my personal calibration, and I don't have to.
A year from now, it's going to be the same.
Yes,
So every person is once in your life.
once in your life, yeah. And this is one example of how.
You don't need to calibrate every time you use it.
No, not at all. That would be very awkward.
Yeah.
So just once, if I come back, no problem. And here is an example of how you can use it in a CAD situation. So if I want to zoom into something, instead of having to drag the mouse around, I can just look. So if I'm interested in that component, I just look at it. And then as I start zooming in, it's going to take me right there. Now the eyes are good for pointing, so I use the eyes to point, that's what I'm interested in. But the hands are good for actually issuing the command. So the zoom, I don't want it to
Can
start.
you zoom into that?
Yeah, so if I look there now,
You just look there,
yeah,
and you
it'll
go page
zoom
up.
straight there.
Page up, page down, where you
Yeah,
look.
so page up to zoom in, page
And
up.
look at this one.
So now I'm looking at that one there. And
It's
that's-
automatic. And it's not a touchscreen, right? You're not cheating.
No. And it sometimes gets confused, but that's because your camera is right in the field of view of my eyes. But apart from that, yes. So looking at that red component now, I just zoom right into that part. Other simple applications is in the scenario of gaming, for example. Just the speed at which I can shoot down these asteroids now, just simply by looking at them, is much more efficient than I'd ever be able to do with
So-
a mouse, touchscreen, or anything like that.
Could you integrate this technology in a phone? Can you put it inside a phone?
This type of technology is.
Can you put it on the top here or something?
This technology is at a stage where it can next generation start going into ultrabooks. Phones and tablets are even smaller, and the technology is not there for that.
It's not there yet?
But there's other things you can make for a tablet, for example. As soon as you want to dock the tablet into a keyboard, today there's no good way of pointing. It's tiresome to touch the screen like that all the time. And any keyboard dock that also has an eye tracker built in will be much better than a keyboard dock that doesn't.
So lots of things coming out very soon from Tobii or later?
Yeah, it's not too far away. So we release products a couple every year, and we will continue.
Are you
to do so.
hiring?
Right now we're hiring.
Where?
Primarily in Sweden, but also in the US.
Out of the Stockholm University or where?
Stockholm University, definitely more experienced developers, people with knowledge of ASICs, all kinds of things.
Are you going to open more offices somewhere else? You already have somewhere else? In France,
Right
or?
now we're primarily looking at the offices we have and have them grow. We're looking for additional person in Silicon Valley, so that's one place where right now our US presence is in Washington.
You said you were how many right now?
About 350 people.
And next year you're going to be double?
No, we won't be hiring
Just a
explosively. We're, in terms of the core competence, engineers actually building eye trackers, that team will double in size, but the rest of the organization won't.
Do you own all the patents for eye tracking? Or is it possible to have a competitor?
There will be competitors out there, definitely, but we have a solid patent portfolio.
You have the best
protected.
technology.
I think so.